Hey guys, and welcome back to the Napkin Notes podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Evans. I am coming to you today from Nashville, Tennessee, and I couldn't be more excited for today's episode. I am back in Nashville recording a few more interviews for the season, which I'm also just thrilled about. So we have one today, two tomorrow. But while I'm here, I have decided it was the right decision for me, apparently, to stay on an Airbnb that actually happens to be a horse farm. So there's a miniature pony here. I think there's 4 other horses. And so I do have to tell you, waking up and drinking on the front porch my coffee in the morning with just horses grazing literally in the front yard was the surprise that I didn't know that I needed. I knew it was a horse farm, but I didn't realize that they were literally in the front yard. So even as I am recording this right now, I am looking out my window. I see 2 horses a little bit down is it the pasture? Am I a horse girl now? But there is the miniature pony Butterscotch that is literally in the front yard because Butterscotch gets his own grazing area. And apparently Butterscotch also used to be an indoor horse that came into the house. Not this house that I'm staying in, but with the previous owner. And so it was just cracking me up. I didn't even realize that that was a thing. I can't remember if it's the 3rd or the 4th Airbnb that I have stayed in that is a functioning horse farm. And I will tell you though, it is probably life's biggest secret is to always stay on Airbnb that is also a horse ranch because the house is always impeccable. And the Airbnb owners, I don't know, horse people are just so engaging and always have the most interesting stories. So I'll have to tell you guys at a separate time about the amazing Airbnb host where I am staying this week, but she is a hoot. So I'm hoping to get a moment that I can pet Butterscotch, the miniature horse, later, but he does not like to be pet while he's eating. But Butterscotch never seems to stop eating. So we'll see what that journey brings for me. But while I might not be able to get a moment with Butterscotch, I did have a conversation with Cortney LaCorte of the Cheesegal brand that we all know and love. Cortney is a home and entertainment content creator here in Nashville, Tennessee, and my path crossed with Cortney's, I think it was 2019, back when she started her Cheesegal brand, and I purchased a cheese board from Cortney out of her home kitchen in East Nashville. So you guys have probably seen her viral cheese boards from, I don't know, maybe the last 5 or 6 years. And she's just continued to be able to show her personality through Instagram stories and through YouTube. And her brand just continues to grow. And of course, this makes the most sense for her. She's coming out with a cookbook in 2026. So we'll all have to keep our eyes peeled on that. But at the top of this episode, you will hear the very funny situation when I purchased my first cheese board from Cortney out of her home in East Nashville, and the very unusual and funny decision that I made after I purchased the cheese board. And that was we call it the story of the traveling cheese board at that point. So be sure to tune into that story at the top of this episode. And this conversation is actually extra special to me because you will hear that this is the episode where the title of this podcast, Napkin Notes, actually came about. It was the moment that this title was birthed. So it was a super organic moment, just kind of naturally flowing in conversation. And you will hear the moment that Cortney and I are both like, oh, that needs to be something. So it's just so fun that that was actually captured and recorded on audio and video. And so you'll hear the inception of that title in this conversation. And so, of course, we are covering the best cheeses that you need to always have on your cheese board, specifically for this season, how to throw the ultimate girls' night in. She talks about a potato chip flight in this episode. So you know that my heart was leaping when she was chatting about that. So you'll definitely walk away with some tangible information. But what's really special about this episode is Cortney walks us through the inception of her brand and all the obstacles that she had to push through. But she also talks later about how a dream came to fruition for her, but she had to pivot away from it because it was not bringing peace in her life. And so it was just really cool. It's a great reminder of we need to align our decisions with our values and priorities. Even when on paper it makes sense, we need to follow the peace. So make sure that you have your napkins out for this episode so that you can write notes on, because you're going to be getting those tangible cheese suggestions. But really, you're going to leave with inspiration to sort of live this heart-led life that Cortney does. All right, guys, also get ready to laugh because Cortney is just so dang funny. Here's my conversation with Cortney LaCorte. We have the owner of the Cheesegal brand, a soon-to-be cookbook author, and one of the best storytellers on Instagram. Cortney LaCorte, welcome to the podcast.
Wow. What an intro. Thank you so much. I think my favorite thing was the storyteller because my husband calls me long-winded.
No, detail-oriented.
Listen, we need the drama.
Yes.
If we don't have the drama, it's not a good story.
Because you want to have that like moment of completion of like, what was the risk here? What could have gone wrong? But you pulled it through.
Thank you.
We love a good detailed story.
Honestly, the nicest thing anyone could say about you.
So when you and I first met, it was at the very beginning of your Cheesegal branding.
Like 2019.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was still when you were like taking orders in the book.
Mm-hmm. You came to my house.
I came
right?
to your house.
You were
and
like
met
one of my
Shar.
first when she was a little
She
baby.
was little. Yes. Still
So
full of
exciting.
personality, but
So
very,
sweet.
very little.
Right.
The funny story about this cheese plate, though, is I got it because my mom and my sister were coming to town. And I thought this would be a perfect little snacky thing for the weekend.
Perfect.
What I didn't think through was, so the airport's obviously in Nashville, and you were where, is it East Nashville
East
then?
Nash, yep.
Okay. So I was like, I'll just pick up the cheese board on my way to pick up my mom and my sister at the airport. Well, my sister got in after my mom. So I came to your house to pick up
Right.
the cheese board, went to go pick up my mom from the airport. We had like 2 hours, I think, in between. So not really enough time because I was living in Franklin, not enough time to go back to Franklin and back out to the airport.
Yeah.
So I walked around downtown Nashville, bar seating, restaurants with your cheese plate.
I never knew this.
And I would just put it on the bar seat next to me. It's like a guy would try to come up and sit there and he would just see this like huge, beautiful cheese plate.
That's actually incredible. Who needs a purse? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
this is your accessory.
We need a purse carrying for the cheese
hysterical.
boards. And this was before cheese boards were like really a thing. I feel like you totally started the movement.
Thank you.
Yes. I
That's
always
very
attribute
nice.
that
That's
to
so
you.
sweet. Definitely, I feel like in Nashville for sure. There
Yes.
weren't. I don't know of any businesses that were doing what I was doing at the time. There was like a
Okay.
couple in LA, one in New York. But that is so nice.
Oh my
But
gosh,
First of all,
yes.
that's also an incredible story.
Well, my mom had no idea really what a cheese board was at that point in time. And she was like, why are you walking around like Broadway with a cheese plate?
You're like, well, Mom.
Let me just tell you, I really thought this would be a nice thing for us this weekend. But we always crack up about like the sisterhood of the traveling cheese plate. So
Oh my
that's how
gosh.
my family always references
Incredible.
you
I
too.
love that. Honestly, I feel honored.
Yes. So tell me back in, was it 2019, 2018?
2018, yep.
Okay. So I think, did you do, was it the Nashville Mom event at Draper James?
Yes.
That's where I first found out about you. So that's where I got to purchase everything. And that's where I just started following you.
Wow.
Way back when. I met nobody, but I walked away with some good cheese. So that was what was really important. So tell me about when you first started Cheesegal and then how Shannon Ford helped you with the name.
My girl.
Yes.
My sweet girl. Shannon and I have been friends since Charlotte was a baby. I've known her 7, because Charlotte turns 7 this Sunday, by the way.
my
Isn't that upsetting?
gosh.
She's a teenager. I know. I'm really upset about it. So I've known her, 7 years. At the time, I say a stay-at-home mom, but technically I was still a flight attendant. I just didn't
I forgot you did flights.
Yeah. See, okay. So at the time, stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
My husband was a touring musician, so he was
That's
gone.
right. He was on the road.
Oh my God, he was gone all the time. He was gone every 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
And so really my creative outlet was to make these cheese boards because I've loved cheese boards. I've loved food. I've loved gathering and hosting since I
Yes,
was
yes.
young. That's been something that I've just always loved. And so I would make these cheese boards when he would be out of town and I'd put Charlotte to bed. I would invite Shannon and like other girlfriends over and we'd like hang out. And that was my creative outlet.
Eat
and
some cheese, drink some wine, have some girl time.
It was my social time. It was so
Yes.
fun putting them together too. And so it was really a couple of years of me doing this, or maybe even just 1 year of me doing this, where she was like, have you thought about it? And I was like, I've thought about it, but we'll see. And then one thing led to another. I ended up getting my first job making
who
cheese
was that?
boards for Lauren Daigle.
Okay, that's what I thought because she's been a client of mine too. So I did her podcast
yeah.
a couple years ago. That's a great first
amazing.
client.
Yeah. Her TM, I'm pretty sure, is who reached out to me when she was like,
Okay.
hey, she's playing at the Ryman on Monday. Would you want to do
That's
her?
a big first cheese board.
It was, I feel like it was very, what's the word? Not foreshadowing
Yeah.
of what my career as Cheesegal was going to be like. Because
Wow.
for that to be my first gig, agreed.
Yes.
I was like shook. I was like, wait, I'm taking this to the Ryman
Yes.
for this massive
Artist in the green room.
Yes. And so that was my first job. I posted it on social media. And Shannon, a few days prior to me delivering all the boards, we had sat down together at Tin Roof Montgomery.
Yes.
If you know, you
Where
know.
all the good brainstorming happens
Where it all
naturally.
happens. And on a like cocktail napkin, we started writing out and brainstorming names. And I mean, some of these names were hysterical. Like I wish I would have kept the napkin.
I do think the best ideas are put on napkins.
True.
Always
you have to
keep the
write
napkins.
it out. Are you a writer?
I'm a writer.
I'm a writer.
Yes.
Same.
Usually it was like a pros and cons list on the napkins of like if I was going to date the guy or not. So this
Love.
is like way better
Okay,
for
no, I like
branding.
that.
But yes, it's really good for pros and cons if you're single
It's
ladies.
also great for dating. You know what? There's a napkin movement that I feel like needs to happen here.
Yes.
Into that.
Napkin notes. Yeah.
Napkin notes. Cute.
Yes.
Wait.
Is that a thing?
I think you need to make that a thing.
Okay. Maybe it's a napkin note segment.
Napkin notes. Well, because you know what else? See, this is my brain, by the way. You see how I go bing,
I
bing,
love
bing.
it. The creativity
Southwest Airlines was started on a napkin, a cocktail napkin.
I didn't
as well.
know that.
I know that 'cause I used to be a flight attendant for Southwest.
Did you see that they just changed their seating?
Yes.
Do you have thoughts or feelings on it?
I think it's about time. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's about time. Like personally, even I loved working for them. They were a wonderful company.
Oh, you were a Southwest flight
and my
attendant.
sister still flies for them too. She's an active flight attendant. Great company to work for.
Good.
But the top complaint from anyone that you ever talked to is,
Yes.
we need an assigned seat.
Yes.
Especially when it's not like their prices are that much cheaper
Not anymore.
these days.
No. The best thing is the cancel fee or like lack of cancel fee.
Yeah, for sure.
My mom flew Southwest for the first time like a year ago.
And
She
it's
could not figure it out.
No, it's you feel like it's a
so
cattle
stressful.
call. It's stressful. You're like, especially if it's a long flight. I'm like, okay, I'd rather fly Delta. So I
Yes.
fly Delta.
Delta,
But-
American. Delta's a little bit more reliable than American, but
Yeah. And they're putting in chargers too.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah, they're
that.
putting in seat chargers. I think they're upgrading their snacks.
Okay.
All things that needed to
Snacks
happen.
are important.
Snacks are, listen, let me tell you, snacks are very important. Okay.
So, but you and Chin were writing down the
Writing
ideas on
down,
a napkin.
yes. And thank you for rating me back in.
No, girl, I got
Like,
you.
That is something I really struggle with. That's how my brain works on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, we're writing down all these names. I think there was even like Nashville Cheese Lady at one point. And I was like, that one doesn't have like the chic elevated feel. And then we're like, wait, Nashville Cheese Gal.
Cheese gal.
So that I had the name
Cheese lady.
Cheese Lady. I mean, wow. And so Cheesegal that's where it was born.
Okay.
I took the boards to Lauren's pre-show, and then I called Shannon and I said, I did it. And she goes, you have 30 minutes before I post to my stories, make your Instagram, post photos, the whole bit. And that was the beginning. And it just blew up.
Somebody giving you a deadline is so helpful.
I have to have a
You've
deadline.
got something, you've got a deadline in
Yes.
place, and you've got a product to now promote.
Yep.
You've got a name. It's not Cheese Lady.
Not Cheese Lady.
Okay.
Nope.
And then you just grew really quickly on Instagram after
Really
that.
quick. And Instagram was my website. I didn't have an
Yes.
actual website for 2 years.
Is that where I sent in my order?
Probably.
Okay,
We should go back in our DMs.
Okay, this is actually going to
I
be
bet it's
embarrassing
there.
for me because talking about your people pleasing, you had small, medium, and large cheese plates.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I was a terrible customer and asked if she could do an extra small.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, there is absolutely nothing wrong with
And
that.
you said yes. Of course you said
I think
yes.
I did extra smalls.
Maybe after I asked for it.
Maybe. Hey, but you know what? It's a size that the people needed. You
Yes.
needed it, and it worked. There's nothing wrong with that. No,
Now
no,
that I
no,
own
no.
my own business, I would be like,
No,
I'm
I
the
love
person
that.
I dislike as,
No,
as a client or a
No,
customer asking
you
for
were a
above and beyond.
fabulous customer.
Thank you.
Don't worry about that.
Well, it was on
I
display
promise.
across Nashville.
Sweet.
So, but
All
it
of
is
Nashville
probably
sauce.
still back there.
Thank you for the advertisement. You were a walking advertisement for Cheesegal.
I
Thank
was.
you.
Yes, it was very confusing and very appealing. So I got you.
that's
Okay, so
amazing.
after you dropped that off
Yep.
to Lauren's show, started the brand online, you guys had Nashville Cheesegal at the time. You just started taking orders and doing things out of your
I
house.
mean, I think I had something like 3,000 followers in the first day or 3,500 followers in the first day and enough business to get me through like a month straight out of the gate.
So were you just going to Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, just sourcing wherever you could at that
I
point?
have so much trauma thinking back on this time in my life because I don't know how I did it. By the way, I had an 18-month-old at the time.
She was only 18 months.
And my husband was gone all the time. And I had no help. I didn't
Yes.
have my mom. I didn't have babysitters. I didn't have anybody. But she happened to be like the most angelic first born child.
Baby.
Because
Okay.
let me tell you something.
Shout out to
Had I
Shar.
had Ellie LaCorte at this moment in time, would have been a different story. So business was going so well that even in the height of 2020, I opened a storefront because I think my
I
business
didn't realize it
model.
was 2020.
Yeah. My
Okay.
business model was already set up for like home delivery and for like small gatherings. So it worked out in my favor. So we opened a storefront.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was
were you
crazy.
considered like a grocery, like a store that it needed to stay
No,
open?
yeah, like essentials. I'm not sure.
Is it?
Actually, that's a great
But I guess it was also to
question.
go.
It was to go.
Okay.
I didn't open it to be like open to the public until November of 2020. So it was, we moved in August and didn't like open it up till, but we had
Okay.
a professional commercial kitchen there.
Wow.
We had a place to work out of, a big walk-in freezer, fridge, all that. So that was
Did you have a business
needed.
manager to walk you through that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, I did. Yeah, because it's a lot.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, it was so much.
Mm-hmm.
I was so drained between running that. I had 14 employees at one point.
14.
Yes, it was a lot.
Because then you're going from creating your own stuff and it's just you being a solopreneur.
Yes.
So that's a large business with
Really-
storefront and 14 employees.
And having employees is the hardest part of owning any business. And everyone told me that. And that happened to me. Even if everybody is wonderful
Yeah.
on a personal level,
Yeah.
it's still so difficult. And so I just remember when my friends would ask me, how are you doing? I'd be like, I'm drowning. And I meant it. I was really just like not in a good place. And I'm trying to remember how far into, maybe 2 years after opening. No, maybe not even quite 2 years. It was like a year and a half. My assistant, who carried so much, honestly, sat me down and was like, I'm moving back home and in 10 days. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, what am I going to do? So I start spiraling. I call my husband and I finally just let myself say, I don't want to do this anymore. And he tells me, I'm so happy to hear you say that. So he was like, I've been praying you would come to this conclusion.
Chris LaCorte.
He's the sweetest. He really is. He was like, I could see it. You're stressed. And he said, honey, you don't need it anymore. You're turning down opportunities that you really want to take because you don't have the capacity to take them on.
Yeah.
And so I hang up the phone. I'm like, I'm going to close it. I run because I was at Soho House and I was outside, of course. I go back in and run directly into my managers who were helping me with campaigns and paid stuff.
This
And
is with Ovnote
with
then too?
Ovnote.
Okay. Oh, they've been there from the beginning.
Yes, I was with CAA briefly before them, but
Okay.
Ovnote mainly. And I told them what happened, and I said, I'm closing the store. They also said the same thing. We're so glad to hear you say that. So it just was like one person after the other. It was like confirmation. And like, I also just knew it in my gut that it was time. I'm the type of person, when I make up my mind, it is done.
Yes.
I'm like, cool. So it's it was April. I was like, my lease is up in August. I'm going to close it in a month from now. I'll just pay the lease until it's up and we have time to get everything out of there. And that's it. And then I'm going to do social media full time.
Okay.
So I've been doing it full time for 2 years now.
Wow. So how
Crazy.
did that feel? Was there any emotional element that went into actually closing the storefront?
I think yes and no. There was such great relief that anytime I would get a little emotional, I'd be like, but I'm so
much happier.
I'm so much happier.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because I was like, wait, now I'm going to have the time to do the things that I really want to be doing.
Yes.
And the root of all of this, I haven't even touched on this yet, but the root of even the cheese boards, it all comes from a love of hosting and entertaining.
Yes.
Being a 5-year-old kid, pretending to have my own cooking show with 2 teddy bears that were both named Dan. I always tell
Dan
this
and
story.
Dan.
Dan and Dan. And I say this every time. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Hi, everybody. My name is Courtney Tucker, and here's how you make spaghetti. Like you can ask my mom, like I would just have my own cooking shows. And it's so funny because it's not like I went to culinary school. Yeah. It's not like I have this big, food background. I don't at all. I just love food.
Yes.
It's at the core of every favorite memory of mine. And so it comes from that. And like my mom would host these fabulous dinner parties.
Okay, so your mom has that too.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
She's an incredible hostess. And so I got that from her for sure. Growing up, sitting at the table, I was like, no, I want to be at the adults table. Okay. And I would sit there and just like be in awe of her. And so it all stems from that. So for me now to be back to my roots basically and be able to work, my job is doing what I love, and that's eating. making a great cocktail and, you know, showing people how to elevate their everyday snack. That's like the love.
I love that. And I think there is an element to you saying yes to something is you saying no to something
100%.
else. So you were almost saying it looked like a dream that was right in front of you, as if you were living out your dream with your storefront, which is such a dream come true. But you were saying no to kind of what the childhood you really needed and really wanted. So that allowed you to say yes to that later on.
Yeah. And it's just wild how it all has worked out. For me personally, I'm a spiritual person for sure. And I know that God has directed my steps. I can see it. I can see it in the story. And it's just, I get emotional when I talk about that. Cause like now I just signed my first book deal and it's like,
we can't
what?
wait.
Is she an author? Excuse me.
Yes,
like
she
it's just,
is.
it's shocking.
Yeah.
it's shocking, but it's not. It's like one of those things where you're like, wow, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just kind of wonder how you get here. And then you look back, you're like, wow, everywhere that I turned and every decision I made, it all led me here. And and who knows what the future even holds. Like maybe I will have my own show. I'm now seeing that like anything is really possible.
Yes.
You know, and you just have to work really hard and keep integrity and
what a good example for your girls.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part
They're
of it.
being able to see like truly anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, you know, God was with you in each of these steps because I do think in the decisions that you made, you followed the peace. And I think we are obedient to God's call and to God's will. There is peace on the other side of obedience.
I love that so much. It's so true.
And that's why it wasn't that
It's
emotional.
funny you say that.
Okay. Yeah, that's why it wasn't that emotional for you to close it.
No, because I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it in my gut. And I think anytime you follow peace or you follow just that pull of like, no, this is, even when it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
I did another friend's podcast recently and she was like, wait, I'm trying to understand. So the business was doing well and you closed it. And I said, yes, because it wasn't serving me anymore. It wasn't filling my cup. It was draining me more than anything. It was pulling me away from my kids. I mean, that was another big thing too. It's like, oh, I get to be home on Saturday mornings, or I don't have to be gone all Christmas Eve. I can, you know, because those were our busiest times.
Gosh, you guys were still open on the holidays.
Oh yeah. Christmas Eve, we would go in at like 3 o'clock in the morning and
I didn't
knock
even think through that.
Knock out hundreds of boards.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
and I love that Chris, I mean, not only did he give you the best last name for your name, he was so supportive throughout this process.
He's the best.
Okay.
It's been really fun to grow with him. He's had some amazing success the last couple of years too. We've done it together and it's been really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you wanted your cooking show growing up. Dan and Dan. Thank you for attending today. Was there somebody in your life growing up that really kind of crafted your love for gathering and hosting and cheeseboarding and entertaining?
100%. So mom for sure, but then also my godmother, she's also just like the most fabulous person ever.
What is her name?
Care. So K-A-R. Her name is Care. We call her Care Bear.
Love.
My mom has known her since she was 19.
Okay.
She lived with her at one point before she got married to my dad. And she's a second mom, truly. She wasn't able to have kids. And so Christine, my little sister, and I are really her babies. And there was one like particular time where I learned about the cheese board situation. I was 15, spent the night at her house. And like I said, she's fabulous, but not in a like snobby,
not in a showy way.
It's not that.
It just oozes from her.
Yes. It's the air about her. She just is fabulous. Every little thing is just intentional and special and sweet. And so she brings out this cheese platter. I had sparkling grape juice. She had a glass of champagne. And I was like, how do you do this? You make it look so easy. And she's told me a couple things. She said, always have a bottle of chilled champagne in your fridge because you never know when unexpected guests will turn up. And then keep cheeses on hand with fruits and nuts and crackers so you can throw together a quick little cheese board. It's impressive. It's delicious. And, you know, feeds people. You can do it quickly.
And cheese can kind of last in
cheese,
your fridge for a little bit.
Totally. And so just those couple of tips, it really, it's carried with me. And every couple of years I would learn little ways to elevate making cheese boards. But that's essentially kind of where it all stemmed from. Isn't that funny?
I just
15.
love that her heart was really to gather and to present and to take care of the people that are coming in and make it look fabulous along the way.
And that's what both of them are all about, Mom and Care. It's about, making people feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Comfortable right away.
Yes.
They're comfortable, but also they're like, wait, I feel special. They went through a little bit of work to make this, you know, whole thing beautiful for us or delicious for us. And I think Chris and I try to implement that sort of mantra in our, because we host and entertain all the time.
So when you host and entertain here, and let's say there's somebody new that's coming over and they're a part of the group, how do you make people feel comfortable and welcome from like the moment they get in? Because sometimes it can kind of be awkward going to somebody's house.
I always offer them something to drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic, just something to have in their hand, right? That just helps, whether it's mocktail, cocktail, glass of wine.
Yeah, it kind of settles you.
Yeah, and I just always start out asking about them. I go straight into it. I'm like, and I genuinely show interest in getting to know them. That automatically helps people put their guard down. So just on like a communication level, that's the first thing I do. But as far as just like inviting, I just try to include them in every part of the conversation. Eye contact for me is huge. Or, hey, do you want a little bite of this? Or here's this appetizer. Let me tell you about this. Like, I'm just very involved with like, I go overboard. I'm probably annoying, but no, I am detail oriented with that for sure.
With your own stories, but also with others.
100%. Yeah. And making people feel like, no, I care about what you have to say. So tell me about you, you know?
So glass of either something alcoholic or just water or mocktail, and then questions.
Yes.
Give them something to drink, ask them something about themselves. Okay.
100%.
I love that. So if you're having a girls' night, what are some essential things? Like, let's say like Shannon, some of like your other close girlies are coming over. Maybe Shar and Ellie already sleep in bed. Today, Cortney today, what would she be having at a girls' night?
Cortney today would have some caviar, a little couch caviar, probably. In fact, I have a tin in my fridge right now that I'm saving for next week.
I found a person who knows where to get really high quality caviar, but at a pretty good price in Austin. So that will be my first thing when I go home.
Oh, I need all the details on that. That's
I got you.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll have to let you know if it's legit, but you were the impetus for me to reach out to her about it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's true.
Brings a tear to my eye. No, really, I love caviar. So, but my thing is, I love what I've actually trademarked this. It's called couch caviar.
TM, yeah.
Yep, TM. What that means for me, though, it doesn't necessarily actually have to be caviar. It's just like having something fabulous, out of the ordinary. Why do we always wait only for celebrations to do something? I'm not saying to go get caviar on a Tuesday. If you can do that, great. But it's more of the mindset. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like take an extra 5 minutes and make this a really special little bite plate,
just for you, just for that day.
Just for you, just for that day. But if I'm having a girls' night with those girls, I would do some caviar with like a potato chip flight, with all the accoutrement. Yes, potato chip flight, salt and vinegar chip for sure.
Okay,
that's like my OG. For me, it has to be the Kettle brand, the blue bag,
Kettle brand, salt and vinegar,
because I like the size, the tanginess is fabulous, and they're just so
we just had some at the beach, and it is so fabulous at the beach. It was great,
so good.
But at the beach, it's just like something so special too. Okay, so a chip flight, maybe some caviar.
So I would do that, probably a little appetizer situation. What would I make? So I always like to go for whatever is in season. So I'd probably do some sort of like stone fruit, mozzarella, caprese, maybe actually burrata instead of mozzarella. I do peaches, plum would be great. Some cherries.
Do you love a plum?
Burrata, prosciutto, little drizzle, olive oil, balsamic, flaky salt, pepper, basil. Serve it on a beautiful little platter. So there's that. There's the caviar. Perfect. We've got our cocktails or champagne going. Of course, a cheese plate, because obviously.
Yes.
And then, and here's the thing with me too. If I'm doing a girls' night, the menu is a girl dinner. You know what I mean? It is 100%. You would be disappointed if there's anything different. Listen, it's a way of life.
Yes,
me, really.
Yes. What's on the cheese board today?
Oh, okay. I would do Midnight Moon.
Okay,
it's a fave. It's from Cypress Grove. You can get this at like Whole Foods.
Okay, great.
It's kind of like if pecorino and like an aged Gouda, but this is it sheep's milk or goat's milk? I'm pretty sure it's goat's milk. If it's like a mix of that. So it's like a harder cheese, but you have the tanginess. It is goat's milk. Okay. The tanginess because it's a goat's milk cheese. Yes. It's so fabulous.
I love a good like sheep's milk or goat's milk based cheese.
And it's just a fun way to switch it up, and it's a little elevated. So I would serve that. I probably just do like a 1 cheese plate. I would do that. I would do some really beautiful like fennel salami with that. Okay. Maybe a little fresh fruit. I'm like closing my eyes because I'm literally envisioning this cheese plate, by the way.
We can see it coming out of her brain.
Oh, some sour cherry jam.
Sour cherry jam?
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh my God. that
I
with
always
just like plain goat cheese on a really yummy cracker with a little bit of prosciutto is absolute dessert.
because I used to only
so
do
good.
fig jam because that was just kind of like what I
Sure,
knew and
it's
what I
what you
liked.
knew. It's
It's
what you're
really
familiar with.
easy. And I was like, this is getting this is getting old. I got to mix it up.
Yeah.
And now I've got the mix up.
You've got to do
Okay.
that. Sour cherry jam.
Sour cherry jam.
And then, I would do that. I would garnish it, of course.
That's actually one of the biggest things is like whether it's a rosemary or a thyme or some kind of greenery just to fill the little holes. Because everybody always says that I make beautiful cheese boards, not nearly in your level, but I'm literally like, it's just because of the extra little garnishes on there.
It's the bow on the present.
Yes.
It's that extra little oomph. And you know what, too? When someone sees that, oh, they're going to think, that person made this special. That person took the time. I think that's the whole thing is like, it actually doesn't have to be anything complicated.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little sprig of mint
Yeah.
in their cocktail, in their mocktail. It's a little something elevated. Maybe instead of giving them water, you give them like sparkling water with, I don't know, a little splash of something else. And then you put the little garnish. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just that extra step, you know?
That one little detail.
One little thing.
My mom and I are staying at the Harpeth, and so they have a big thing of water outside, but it had different kind of like limes and lemons and like oranges and things like that. And so I kept going back for more, but it's really just water with a little extra special.
Right, a little extra.
But you do remember it.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of what I'm picking up from what you're saying is make it a little bit memorable for these
Yes.
people. The sour cherry jam, like that's easy to remember. Or when you provide something for them to drink, whether it's a cocktail or a mocktail, like it's still intentional to them. And so I think there's a level of graciousness as a host that you provide that makes them feel automatically comfortable. But I think that graciousness can be we're just so busy all the time that I feel like gathering and hosting and graciousness can just kind of go out the window because we're just kind of going forward to what's next. And I love that you notice life. And I think that's really just such a unique and rare and lovely quality about you.
Wow. You're just so sweet. Thank you so much.
I mean that because when you and we reconnected at Mary Hollis's book launch party.
I forgot about that.
Briefly.
Oh my gosh.
Just like-
when was that?
I think it was 2 Decembers ago.
Is it already?
Or was it
Oh
3?
yeah, it was at the Graduate.
It was at the Graduate.
That's right.
Yes.
I love her. She is so funny.
That was a hoot. We'll have to get Mary Hollis on the
I love her.
podcast
Oh,
too.
you have to.
Just
She
to
is
show all of her
incre-
tablescapes
Oh
and
my
stuff.
God. That woman puts me out. She is so funny.
Yes. But I remember there was like a moment there, obviously there's a ton going on and we're celebrating Mary Hollis, but you came up to me and asked something about we had talked about previously like my engagement ending.
Oh yeah.
But you remembered that and brought it up in the midst of everything else kind of going crazy. You remembered that. And I thought, oh, wow, like Cortney, when she asks you a question, she really listens. And that just meant so much to me. And I think we ended up getting interrupted because somebody else had come up. And I was like, that was something I remembered. I was like, Cortney, actually, she does care, even if it's in those brief moments and brief passing of you were intentional enough to listen to me when I had said something. And I just really appreciated that. That was something that was really memorable to me.
I love that. I think so often, don't you? I hate when someone is talking to me, but you can tell they are like, they're looking around the room. They're like,
seeing who else is walking by.
so I've made it. I'm glad that makes me feel good to know that you feel that way because I want anyone that comes in contact with me to feel like they're important. I care what they have to say. That's how we all should be.
Yes.
It's not hard.
Yes.
You know?
We're just I think we can get so busy and I don't want to say self-centered, but self-focused.
Well, we are these days. I feel like it's
yeah.
such a self-centered world now.
Yeah.
You know?
To just open your eyes, guys. Just like lift up a little bit and see like kind of what else is going on out there because those moments do matter and that still sits with me. It's been 2 or 3 years. So thank you for doing that.
Oh my God, I love you.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about girls' night stuff, what we're going to put on there. If you and Chris are going out to date night, what is your ultimate, and I feel like I have to put boundaries around this because you guys have been everywhere. We can do one internationally, and then we'll do one in Nashville. Okay. What is y'all's ideal date night together?
Okay, so the thing about this is we're actually going on a date tonight.
Ooh.
There are certain things that we look for.
Okay.
Before I even say like a particular restaurant. Number one, the vibe has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The vibe is so important. You know why? Because we can make a good dinner any night of the week here in my house, but the vibe
He's
maybe
an
isn't
amazing
there.
chef as well.
He's incredible. He is way more chefy than I am. I'm like a home cook. He's like home chef. Really, he's very good. So the vibe's got to be there. Obviously, the food's got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the hospitality's got to be there. It's like all these things have to check the box. And it's always such a bummer when one of them doesn't, especially as a parent, because you go through all this stuff trying to get a babysitter, you're away from your kids. It's like this whole thing. And then when you're disappointed, it sucks. But let's see, some of our favorite places around town. Locust is like my number one.
I
It's
have
so
not
hard to
been
get
still.
in.
Okay.
Oh, you would love it. It's so good.
Okay.
It really is it's lived up to the hype for sure.
And what are you ordering at Locust? Or is it a
their
seasonal changing
dumplings? I
menu?
think they change it up, but their dumplings are everything and more.
Okay.
Their tuna tartare wraps are incredible. I mean, just everything.
Okay.
Order the menu. When you go, order the menu. That's number one. Another, I love the Piece on 12 South. It's always good.
Oh, it is good.
It's always good. It's so cute in there. Great wine list. Like light, delicious
feels fresh.
food. It's very fresh.
Yes.
So I love that. Gosh, I love Jersey and Dar.
Oh, yes.
Love it.
I did do that right before I left for Austin. So if you guys are in Italy, did you guys have a favorite spot that you went?
Oh my gosh. When I talk about Italy, it's it was my favorite place ever.
Did you bring your salt to Italy?
Yeah. Oh, my purse salt?
Yes.
1,000%. Because you know what? They don't actually add a lot of salt to their foods there. And listen, I've got to have flaky salt and everything.
We have thoughts about, flaky salt.
Let's see. In Italy, we did Rome, we did Florence, and then the countryside of Tuscany, and it was just all so fabulous. We really loved Rome. I think Rome was maybe our favorite.
Okay. Is it fast paced?
I know it's kind of a hot take because a lot of people don't.
They don't say that unless they're there for like a month or something.
Yeah, but see, we also love New York, so I don't know if it's like, I just think there's so much history everywhere you walk.
Yeah.
And it's just, everything is so old. You feel so like small. You're like, wow, the world has been around for a really long time. And this is just so fabulous. Favorite spot. I will say one of my favorite meals of the entire trip was at this place called Riccioli in Rome. Okay. Get a reservation ASAP if you're going to Rome. And also order everything. Riccioli. Yeah. Like ROSCIOLO. Okay. Or maybe it's I don't know.
What did you guys eat?
Everything.
Okay, you did. Because he does order 4 pastas.
That is something we did regularly. Like we were always just ordering all the pastas, all the appetizers. The tiramisu is insane. They did just open one in New York, and it was really good.
Okay.
Not Rome,
not quite,
but it was really good. I will say, for not being in Italy, it was still really fabulous. Yeah. Oh gosh, I loved that place. Oh, there was just so much. I mean, we only had really one bad meal, and it was a total tourist trap.
Because Taylor Swift was playing on that.
Taylor Swift was playing. You only heard Americans. People are going by just like taking pictures of the restaurant. And I'm like, did we just fall into a tourist trap? We did.
That's not good.
And it was my birthday. It was my birthday dinner too.
Not on the birthday. Any other time, but not on the
Chris,
birthday.
I mean, because he planned this whole trip out. I mean, everyone kept asking me, who was your trip planner?
Yeah.
I was like, it was Chris.
Yeah.
He did it. He spent months getting this thing. He did incredible. But a little hot tip, if it has an obscene amount of good reviews, like this had like 25,000 good reviews. So you would think, it's good.
Is it just bots?
They're tourists. They're all,
so they're real reviews.
They're real reviews, but
not locals.
They're not locals, because there aren't 25,000 locals leaving reviews. Let me tell you that.
I see what you're saying.
I don't know that Italians are probably leaving reviews.
Yes,
to be honest.
they're moving on to their next glass of champagne somewhere.
Exactly. They're not there. So yeah, but Italy was so fabulous.
Can we brag on your husband a little bit?
Sure.
Can you tell the people what he does? It's just so fun.
He's so cute. We've been together for 10 years. Coming up on 9 years of marriage.
Wow.
He's I almost just said singer-songwriter. No, he's not. He's a songwriter, producer. He can.
hold a tune.
Especially he can hold tune and does great backup vocals all the time for the stuff he's producing. But songwriter, producer, and country music.
Okay.
He's had a few number ones. He has 2 songs on the radio right now.
Amazing.
Tucker Wetmore, he's a new up-and-coming artist that has like exploded.
Cool.
His song Wind Up Missing You, and then Russell Dickerson's latest single called Bones, which is like maybe one of my favorite songs Chris has ever been a part of.
Really?
It is so good.
Okay.
Go listen to it today.
And they're both on the radio right now?
Yes, both on the radio right now, which is really exciting.
Does he have his own studio now?
Yeah.
Amazing.
He does. He and Sam Hunt shared one for actually the last 5-6 years. And Chris just moved out of that. And now, I guess he's not on his own, but he's in his publishing studio house with his own studio in there.
Okay.
And it's just, I'm so proud of him.
I'm proud of him too.
Thank you. It's sweet.
It's a hard I mean, you
Yeah.
guys both went through a lot of transitions in your careers, all really great ones. But when you closed the storefront and then started doing this more content creation, he did go off the road and then tried to make it as a producer, and obviously is killing it with the songwriting and production.
Yep.
But it's still a big transition to make that leap.
Huge, because you go from like a for sure salary to it's basically commission. If you think about it, like you're not making money unless a song is on the radio these days. It's a much different game for songwriters than it used to be. He always talks about how like the 90s, I guess, was like prime for any songwriter, especially like in pop or whatever. Like if you got a song on someone's record, you were making so much money.
Just because of radio play versus streams?
Yes.
Okay.
And once streaming came around, now you really only make good money when it's on the radio. So it's got to be on the radio.
Okay. And he has a hit with Morgan Wallen? Or a song
Morgan
with him?
Wallen.
Okay.
Keith Urban. He's had 2 number ones with Sam. But yeah, he's writing with everybody. I'm
Music,
so proud.
food. You guys are just such a creatively led couple. I can't wait to see what your girls do.
Oh my gosh. I can't either.
I would love to talk quickly about, it might be this time when you did shut down the store a little bit, but I remember when I first started my business, I felt like I was so busy and so overwhelmed that I sort of lost my personality. And I was like, wait, like I used to be fun and would laugh at stuff, and then now I just feel busy all the time. Was there a time in maybe your adulthood that you did have to kind of find yourself again and find your personality again and start to pull out those childhood dreams?
I think it really came with the closing of the store, to be honest with you. The first 6 months after they closed, I almost went through like an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Of like, wait, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm used to always saying, I'm a founder. And now I'm just talking into my phone for a living. So like,
And
how do I find
isolating.
myself?
Like you are doing it alone.
And I had run myself ragged too, that I was the same way. I was exhausted. I was stressed. I wasn't fun anymore. I was lashing out at everybody. Like, by everybody, I mean, Chris, poor guy. And so, yeah, I think that is a good example of finding myself, finding my personality again, going, what do I really like?
Yeah.
Because you have to remember that was my hobby. I think sometimes all of us turn our hobbies into a job, but then you lose the fun in that. And so kind of getting back to that has been a journey, but I feel like I'm in a good spot. It doesn't mean I don't still feel at times like so stressed. But it's different for sure.
So just your faith and then other things, like what kind of gets you back on track when you're having a day like that?
Oh man. Okay. Lately, she's a walker.
I feel this
girly.
so deeply in my heart. Yes.
I have to go on a walk. And in my neighborhood, I don't know which direction you guys came in.
From that way, I think.
Through the hills.
I don't think
on the way out, if you go through the hills, you'll see where I walk. It is a steep hill up here. Mom and I just did it this morning. If I start feeling, actually I did this last week. I felt so overwhelmed. I was writing the book. I had to film a couple campaigns. I had to do organic content. People are yelling at me in my DMs, like all these things are happening. And I'm like, I want to go on a walk. And I went on a 20-minute walk and I came back and I felt so much better. So that's something that I do that really helps ground me.
That's
I also just like put my phone down and do something else for a bit. I just like have to not be connected. I think that's what's hard about any job right now, is that we're always connected. Someone can always get a hold of us. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that feeling of like, I can't really shut off. That's what I struggle with, is not shutting off. I mean, I was even laying in bed last night thinking like, okay, this is a great idea for the book. And I'm like, okay, stop.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes, turning the brain off. When you wake up in the mornings, do you wake up already kind of having like thoughts and conversations in your head?
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize the second that not everybody has that.
This was like newer news to me as well. I thought I could have full conversations, with myself.
My mom and I were talking about this earlier. Yeah. But like I wake up,
fake arguments that haven't happened that you're like, okay, if they say this, then I'm going to say that. Like, yes, that's me.
And I wake up with these things in my head before my feet even hit the ground. And I'm like, brain, please stop. But yeah, not everybody, when I told that to somebody, they were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, I feel very alone right now.
Oh, you're like, well,
I'm going to go for a walk now.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I do love walking. I do feel like there is something about moving my physical body actually moves my emotions too.
Yes.
It just like you walk it out and you get outside and it's just like anything that feels like stuck or stagnant, or I call it like getting emotionally clogged up, the actual movement physically helps move actually the emotions out too. So I think that's really good.
And there's something to that too. I think it helps lower like cortisol and stress and all sorts of things.
And then you're probably getting vitamin D from the sun. So you all go out and get a walk.
Fresh air, do a little grounding.
Yes. So we are a big chip and dip family. Do you have a dip that is your go-to that we can do at our next holiday gathering?
Dirty martini dip.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, it's so
we
good.
haven't tried
Do
it
you
yet.
like olives?
I love them. The one on the sofa.
If
over
we
there,
don't,
not
I was going to
so
say, if we don't love
much.
olives, then you wouldn't like it.
Okay. My
Okay,
sister
what
and I will
else?
love
Okay,
it.
wait, what about this is not a dip. Although you dip the cracker in the crispy baked boursin. Have you done that?
No.
Oh, you got to do that.
Okay.
Oh, but you don't like cheese. Okay. Okay.
No, we were trying
I'm
to.
thinking
Yes.
for mom. I'm like, wait,
Yes.
we got to make mom something good.
Yeah, what would she like? That's a dip. I mean, she makes buffalo
That's not a
chicken
cheese.
dip.
Do you know what's so hard is right now I'm thinking of all the dips that I have like in my cookbook thus far. They all involve cheese. So I'm like,
My mom and I made cucumber dip the other day, and by the end of it, oh yes, with cream cheese.
oh, yum.
And we were like, we can open up a chip and dip shop.
100%. I love a chip and dip.
Yeah. And then my mom was like, this one doesn't taste quite right. It only has 4 ingredients. She forgot one.
What was it?
The onions.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, maybe the chip and dip shop is not for us. There's only 4 ingredients. We forgot
Hey,
one.
it's called recipe development. Okay,
Yes.
it's called recipe testing.
was a beta
You were
test.
just testing. That's all. No big deal.
But my mom, who'd had that your friend's mom growing up? And the cucumber dip is not as easy as it sounds because you have to cut it up or like slice it, but then you have to dab it with paper towels and get all the water
all the
out
water
of it.
out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wait, yum, onion dip.
Yes.
Love
So a
onion
little
dip.
bit of
Do you like
onions in there, too.
queso? Okay, so there are certain exceptions to the cheese rule. Okay.
Yeah. If
I'm on a
it's
mission to think of like
if
a
it's like
good dip that
Velveeta,
doesn't
she's
involve
in.
cheese.
She has a
Okay,
very
I love-
limited palate.
Listen, I grew up. This is a true story. Every day after school, you can go ask my mom was in the other room. I would make Velveeta queso. I would put in a can of Rotel, Velveeta queso. I would sit in my little TV tray in front of the TV at 4:00 and turn on Oprah. That is, I was in middle school.
Nothing has changed
folks.
except for caviar, insert caviar.
Literally, it's me still. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Like, it's the most me thing. Like, that makes sense.
Yes.
Another thing, and mom and I were laughing about this a few nights ago because my aunt and cousins came through. Someone DM'd me recently and they're like, oh, trying so hard with you all. Or what did she say? Something like, you're always trying so hard to look classic and chic with your button downs. It's so forced. I said, ma'am, would you like for me to pull up the school picture of me in 6th grade where I'm wearing a Ralph Lauren button down with a sweater vest? Would you like for me to do that? Because I can do it.
There's
okay?
nothing more corny than what you're wearing from 6th grade on.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, you have no idea. My mom was even saying, she was like, she's always loved a button down. It's just.
And what if
It's
you
my
did
style.
just start into it now and you wanted to look put
Yeah.
together?
Why are we shaming?
Yeah.
We're not
Women
button-down shaming.
need to stop shaming women.
Thank you.
It all comes from the woman's perspective. We got to quit it.
My worst comments come from women.
Women, we got to quit it. Ugh, I hate that. I mean, you're talking about
fun.
gathering issues. What is there to hate? People are trying really hard at that point.
You know what? Luckily, I will say I've grown quite a thick skin now.
Okay,
I laugh at most of it.
good. So we talked a little bit about your mom and your grandmother earlier.
Yeah.
Were there any sayings growing up that you still hold true with you today that are memorable to you?
Well, the first one that comes to me is also a Luann de Seps.
Perfect.
Money can't buy you class.
That's it.
Something that is the first thing I just thought.
Be cool, don't be uncool.
Like, don't be uncool. Don't be like uncool. You know, it's just so funny because like the funniest thing, that's what came straight to my mind is Darcy Tucker and they're saying
Yes.
money can't buy you class.
No truer words have been
Or
spoken.
your health. She
Yes.
says. Okay, what else? What's something meaningful and like, you know,
It's just that your godmother.
impactful? I mean,
My grandmother, she's kind of one of the inspirations behind the podcast. And the reason that I wanted to have you on was to talk about these notes of nostalgia of growing up and gathering and just those elements that I feel like can be so overlooked in today's day and age. But Nanny would always say like, have a happy and holy day. Or she would say never planned. She'd always say mind your manners too. She was such like a steel magnolia, but like wrapped up in grace. But those are like the things that you kind of keep with you. We had like a little handshake thing.
Oh, now that you're saying that, yeah, the one that we still say, and my kids now say it. My mom would say it every time we would go to school or leave her. She would say, "Angels are watching over you." And it was like a prayer and faith that, Father, I think you're keeping my baby safe and they'll come back to you. And so now I say it to my kids and they say it to me. I know, me too. And she still says it. And all of us say it now. In fact, the girls went to swimming this morning and Charlotte, "Angels are watching over you." Like, it's just something we all say. And so, yeah, that's something for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That.
Well, you reminded me of it as it's so funny how things become so normal. That you like forget about it.
Yeah,
But
and that's so special.
Yeah.
We're praying for angels on assignment for all that are listening today.
I love that.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Court, thank you for being on. This has been so much fun.
The best.
I've learned a lot of things and details about you. We're walking away with some recipes and some girls' night things.
Yes.
We learn more about Chris too, because he is the sweet husband that deserves all of the love and support.
Truly.
Where can everybody find you? And how can they follow you?
Instagram, Cheesegal, literally just cheese and gal.
Perfect.
TikTok, funny story. It is Cheesegal, but spelled differently because I created an account with Cheesegal, but forgot the password and I'm locked out and can't get back in. So,
Come on, TikTok.
It's spelled CHZ.
Okay.
Gal on TikTok.
This is like the Wheel of Fortune, no vowels allowed.
Yeah, 1000%. And then I'm on YouTube, cheese_gal. I think I have a website, cheesegal.com.
Yes.
I do once a month newsletters, so monthly newsletters.
I look forward to them every month.
Oh, yay,
I love
thanks.
opening them. Seriously.
you know what? I just wanted to make them like easy and something people would actually want to read because I sign up for newsletters sometimes, and then I'm like, why did I sign up?
Do this?
So I never want anyone to feel that way.
Yes.
So
I can
it's
tell.
like actually useful.
Yeah.
And then the book will come out in 2 years.
2026. And what's the cookbook called?
Oversharing.
Perfect.
Which is me.
How many recipes will be in there? Do you know?
100.
100.
100.
Okay, so if anybody ever says there's not enough content or recipes out there,
Listen,
Courtney's
we're about
got you
to get
covered.
a whole lot of content.
Okay. And then will there be different cheese types of things in there?
Oh, yeah.
Appetizers, main
Everything
courses?
that you see basically on Instagram that I'm doing will be on there. So like apps, cocktails, couch snacks, dinners.
Any Chris recipes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
He's with the more, and I don't want to use the word difficult because I don't do anything that's difficult, but things that require more steps.
Okay.
He's helping me with.
Okay.
But he's definitely a recipe developer and a recipe tester because often like I'll make something and have it really close and I'm like, it's not there. He'll taste it and go, it needs a little acid, little squeeze of lemon, a little bit more salt. I'm like, done. I mean, he's really
That's probably how his brain
amazing.
works with songs too. Like it needs a little bit of this. This recipe needs a little dash of that.
He's a computer science major, actually. Fun fact. So I think his
What
brain.
can't he do?
I'm telling you, he just has that kind of brain. Very like it's this and la.
Okay. So we've got apps. We've got more stepped recipes in there too.
Exactly.
2026 oversharing.
It'll be there. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Cortney LaCorte, thanks so much for being
Honey, thank you for having me. This was so
Absolutely.
fun.
I'll
So
talk to you
easy.
soon. Good.